Hello and welcome to It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Joining me today is Romana King, who is a personal finance and real estate expert and director of content with Zolo. Thanks for joining us today, Romana.
Great to be here, Mario.
Let me just start by asking you about the value of data, especially in real estate, residential real estate, during these times.
Well, the short answer is that data is important in every aspect of our lives. We know that data is big business now. We know that big businesses are using data to make money. So it kind of makes sense that, everyday buyers, people that want to buy a home, sell a home, will use data to make the best possible decision. If we go back 40, 50 years to when our grandparents bought a home, they weren't using data. They weren't worried about, whether or not someone bought a home and sold a home for less or more. They just wanted to save up enough, get a decent enough interest rate that hopefully they retired mortgage free. They raised a family and that was their home. These days we're moving. We don't stay in a home 10, 20, 30, 40 years. We move, I think on average every 5 to 7 years. We want to buy low, sell high, make some improvements that add value to the home. So data comes into play. And in particular, I think the last 10, 15 years, homes became not less, I shouldn't say, their value as a need. We need to have a roof over our head is just as important, but the commodification of homes, so seen as an asset, became all the more important. And so investors came in, people that weren't just investing, but wanted to get the most value out of this asset. And so data plays a big role in all of that.
So, when you look at, the real estate industry, the residential side of things, I believe I've seen often enough people and experts being quoted saying that the search for home buying and actually search even for if you're selling a home always starts online. And that's a huge component of everything, right? Is that what you're discovering as well?
Yes, I think even as far back as 5 years ago, over 90% of people started their online search for a home or to sell a home online. And I think in part because data and information technology and the internet makes it so much easier to find that information online. And it's much easier to make educated decisions. Gee, I'd like to move up to a 4-bedroom and I only have a 2-bedroom. I wonder what I could get for my 2-bedroom, and I wonder what a 4-bedroom would cost. I can go online and find some cursory or preliminary information about that. Then I can find professionals online and I can find even more robust data to make those decisions.
Yeah. When you look at, is it more important in a hot market or in a down market, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. I think what does matter is that you use the data with context. I think data in and of itself is useless. Sales are up. Okay, but what does that mean in context? Sales are down. In context, let's go back to last year, March 2020, April 2020, and people were saying, oh, sales have ground to a halt. But in context, it was because you had a global pandemic. People weren't allowed to go out. We didn't know how to shift to mostly online selling. And so for that reason, sales ground to a halt. But in context, that made sense. So then when the market picked up again and people started buying again in context, that slowdown for that brief period made sense.
Now, the other important element, too, is that when we look at things, you take the Calgary Real Estate Board, for example. They put out the monthly MLS data every month, right? And media, if they're covering this, typically will write about XX number of MLS sales in January. It's this percentage higher or lower than the year before. The benchmark price is whatever, same thing, percentage change. And that's kind of the picture that's painted, right, for a city of 1 point whatever it is now, 1.5 million. But I guess it's important to look closer into that data because the numbers, say, for a single detached homes may be far different than the numbers for condos, right?
Oh, absolutely. So you have to look at the sales volume. You have to look at the sale price, and not just for the month. It's great to look from month to month, but what's the overall trend? Are we looking at, we're much, much higher than the overall 5-year average? So why does that matter? Because if I'm much higher than the overall 5-year average, I have a better understanding of where we are in the market cycle and where we're off. If we're much higher, then we might be in a bubble. If we're much lower, we might be in a slump. And those are opportunities for two different people. If you're in a bubble, great opportunity for a
Yeah.
seller. If you're in a slump, great opportunity for a buyer.
Yeah, so trends are important, obviously. Yeah, and speaking of trends, what I find fascinating in the last, well, especially the last half of 2020 and into 2021, is that these markets are hot across Canada. It doesn't seem to be anywhere that the real estate market isn't. What's happening?
You know what? Great observation. And yes, we saw the same thing, obviously being a real estate marketplace in Canada. And we wanted to understand that. So we actually did a survey towards the end of last year. And one of the big questions we asked was, why are you buying homes? It's a pandemic. Why are Canadians still buying homes? And by and large, our theory was actually proven by the answers, which is it's never for a financial reason. A lot of the people that look at the market, we assume, well, people are buying homes for financial stability. No, they're buying it for emotional stability, for psychological stability. And from there, they're able to build and plan and make decisions for their financial stability. So home buying and owning property is an integral part of our overall net worth in that it provides that foundation.
And I guess the fact of being forced to stay at home. More and more people are looking at their home environments, whatever that may be, and that's a big decision maker for them in terms of whether or not to buy a home or get another home or new home, etc. Right?
Yeah, and it's a decision about whether or not to buy, whether or not to stay in the current home. A lot of people, Calgary's a great example of this. A lot of people will buy based on the quadrant of where they work. You don't want to cross from the northeast all the way down to the southeast. That's insane. I lived in Calgary. I know you don't want to make that journey, right?
Yeah.
So you buy in, say, the southeast quadrant because it's a less of a commute. But what if you didn't have to go to an office? Well, now, if you want to be close to Banff, maybe you're out in the northeast quadrant, northwest quadrant, so that you can get to the highway, get to the mountains.
Yeah.
If you want to go further south, so it helps you decide about your living arrangement because your working environment has changed. You don't have to commute as often.
Yeah. One other thing regarding the factors behind perhaps the boom in the real estate market these days across Canada. One obviously is low interest rates, historic low interest rates, if you can talk about that. But the other thing I want to talk about, I did an interview today with a gentleman from RBC, and they talked about holiday spending. Holiday spending was at record levels this year for Canadians. What he talked about was the fact that nobody's traveling, so there's a lot of money saved there. Nobody's going to restaurants or bars. A lot of money saved there. Could that also have an impact on people buying homes?
Oh, absolutely. So before the pandemic, there was still a demand in the marketplace in most locations. Alberta's been a little bit hard hit economically with the resource. They were hit a little bit with the pipeline controversy, and then there was a bit of a dilemma with the Russians and different, with oil prices and slowdowns and the Saudis. And so we had a few hits there.
Yeah.
But once that all balances out, then you still have that demand for buying a house. And yet we have very little supply still. And then you get a forced savings, can't go out, can't buy, can't entertain, can't go to restaurants, can't go to bars, can't. So all of a sudden you've got these forced savings. I had tons of people across Canada phoning me that I just know personally saying, we have so much money in the bank because we're still able to work, but we can't go out. And we're thinking of doing this on our house, or we're going to do this in our backyard because now it made sense to put the money into the house rather than on that vacation.
Yeah.
So it does make a big difference. And with the interest rates, a lot of people are saying, well, money is so cheap to borrow right now. I don't mind pushing my home buying to the extreme, to the absolute maximum that I can afford, because it's going to be cheap for a while for me and I can make up that difference. I'm not saying that's the right strategy, but that's what they're doing.
All right, then. Super. Well, thanks very much for joining us today, Romana.
Thank you, Mario.
Okay, that was Romana King, who is a personal finance and real estate expert and director of content for Zolo. This has been It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Thanks for joining us today.